What's good, y'all? It's your host, Phoenix. Today on Ripple Radio, we got the man of mayhem, the winner of the My Mark spoken word, Michael Anderson, everyone. What's good, Michael? So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? You know, where are you from?
I consider myself a learner. I would use that as a description for myself.
I like that.
Yeah, I am. I think we're all learners, and I think I strive to be a learner all the time. But as far as where I'm from Maplewood, New Jersey. It's really suburban. It's really North Jersey. I hail from Kingston, Jamaica. I came to New Jersey when I was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I've been living in Maplewood since I was 9 years old. Before that, I was living in Union, going to school in Irvington. Yeah, and but yeah, I'm chilling in the suburbs.
Cool, just chilling in the suburbs. Right, so I kind of want to talk more about we're discussing this before, kind of what
Right.
you know. I personally don't like labels, so I know how it is, especially when it comes to the creative arts and whatnot.
Right.
But I guess what exactly do you do? I know you do spoken word.
I'm a spoken word poet, primarily. I'm an MC. I am a public speaker. I think all of those fall under that category of public speaking. I feel like, we've been doing this since day one, since we got off the boat. Before we was on the boat, we've been public speaking,
Right.
doing our thing. So.
Yes, that's how you found your way to the host of Mayhem.
I started Mayhem back freshman year, and then Shireen, do you remember Shireen?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shireen, the vice president at that time, told me to try out for the slam poetry team. So I tried out for the slam poetry team. Next thing I know, I'm chilling with them, doing shows across Rutgers, and then, CUPSI, College Union Poetry Invitational. So the second year with the slam poetry team, I decided to not go to CUPSI. It was actually I left them on a sad note. Not a bitter note, but a sad note. And then I felt like my place was good as the host of Verbal Mayhem. So that's that.
I'm sure everyone agrees as well.
Yeah, I hope. Yo, come out to Verbal Mayhem, Murray Hall, 9 o'clock, 9:15, Wednesday night, room 210. You know what it is. Jones is live. Ripple, my bad. I'm just going crazy. I'm going crazy over here.
No,
all right.
It's all good. We're chilling. We're just vibing out here. So, Michael, I want to get into...
Yeah, get into it, Jones.
All right, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into this. So when did you first start writing? How did you get into it?
I think we all started writing when we first started listening, I feel like we all had that moment when we heard someone, say some crazy 2 bars of a rap, or heard a speaker, at some event, or heard a poem and was like, I think similar, and you know what? I can do that. But the first time I
want to do that.
Yeah, I want to do that. But I feel like the first time I ever wrote was when my church commissioned me to write poetry for the church. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they were like, oh, the church has an anniversary coming up, and I was like 14. I was like in 8th grade, and they were just like, all right, cool. You're gonna come up and you're gonna do some poems, and I don't know. The church really responded well to it, and that really established my having a solid ground in front of a large amount of people, And black churches, they critique you. They don't just if it's whack, they ain't gonna clap. And if they gonna clap, they're gonna be like, okay, next, But it was a really dope response, and that just gave me the confidence to write. So I guess that's what started me off.
To keep up with it. That's what's up. So you started writing poetry from a young age, you could say.
Yeah.
So you were about 14 with that.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned how was it when you entered college that you started doing slam poetry, or?
Yeah, I actually didn't know that there was a difference between spoken word poetry and slam poetry.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, real quick, you wanna?
Yeah,
let us know
I'll
what the
edify the
difference is?
crowd. So spoken word poetry is just anytime you hear a poem being spoken out loud, that's spoken word poetry. So
Makes sense.
if Shakespeare were to come, Emily Dickinson, and were to come in front of a crowd and start repeating their poems out loud, they would be called spoken word poets. But slam poetry, poetry slam started in like the late 80s, late 70s. Somebody fact check me, go to Wikipedia. And that was a place where spoken word poets could go and practice their art and stuff. And they would have little competitions called poetry slams. So that started to go viral across the country. And soon people started dubbing these poets who attended slams, slam poets. But then people got misconstrued thinking like slam poetry was a genre within itself of poetry. But it's just slam poetry. A slam poet is only a poet who attends poetry slams. So if, like I said, if Shakespeare went to a poetry slam, he's a slam poet. But slam poems, when you do think about the traditional idea of what someone means when they say slam poetry, you know, you got that feel, you got the energy, you got the fire. It's sort of rhythmic. It's sort of evoking some.
Slam those words.
Yeah, it's coming at you.
Really.
It's coming at you. You know, it feels natural. Doesn't feel like it's being read off a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's what's up. So you said you performed the Cupsy, right?
Yes, it did.
So I've kind of just been hearing like talk of Cupsy and stuff like that. You want to?
Yeah. Cupsy is the College Union Slam Poetry Invitational. It's for all the slam teams across the nation, who are the college slam teams. Similar to NPS, that's National Poetry Slam. I think the Women's Poetry Slam, Women of the World's Poetry Slam is going on right now for Women's Month. Shout out to all the ladies on campus.
Hey.
Come out to Verbal. I'm going to keep saying it. Shout out to my lady, Chantel, in the corner.
Shout out to Chantel.
But yeah, so yeah, that was really lit. My first time, you know, speaking in front of a national audience, really, and I made a lot of friends. And I came back home, and the community was really accepting of different people and different ideas, and just it taught me different ways to approach writing. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
it definitely made me less selfish in my writing. Because a lot of the writing that you do is for yourself, you know. You know, and you sit down and you just pen your bars, you're like, oh, I need to get this off my chest. But then there's sometimes you gotta write, and it's sort of like, oh, someone needs to hear this. You know, this isn't for me. Like, someone needs to hear this.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's what that taught me.
That's definitely interesting. So so I guess that's like your takeaway from going out to these Cupsy events and stuff like that.
Yeah, I only went one time, so I don't want to
okay.
make it seem like I've been like going to Cupsy all the time. I had a second chance to go back in 2015, but I declined because of some reasons that I won't get into here. But other than that, I do shows anywhere I can. If it's a coffee, I think I've done over 100 events at Rutgers. Like
wow.
I've spoken. If it's the
Shout out to you.
shout out to you, Joe. This is I consider this one of those events. If it's at the Red Lion Cafe, if it's in the basement of Demarest, if it's at Verbal, if it's at the Artist Collective Coffee House in Jameson, I don't care. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna spread this good news.
Cool.
What did Kanye say? You heard about the good news? Y'all sleeping on me, huh? Had a good snooze.
Yes.
Wake up.
That's what's up. So going back on to when you started writing and whatnot, I wanted to know, were there any particular or specific influences that, you know, really got you to, you know, pick up the pen?
Definitely.
Who
Definitely.
got you to start writing, or, you know, push you to the pen?
Like most people, the man, the myth, the legend, Kanye West, definitely allowed me He gave a lot of us the knowledge that you didn't have to come hard when you came on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
You could come soft. You could be the mama's boy. You could let your heart out a little bit, you know. And I didn't feel like I had hard, you know, a hard stance on life. He was a person who just explained his story, and I think just his very, you know, smooth sort of way of telling his story and delivering it to our ears made it very approachable.
Yeah, no, totally. I definitely agree with that.
Also, Lupe Fiasco.
Word.
He's the side that emphasized that point I was talking about earlier. Is like sometimes you can't write for yourself; you have to write for the world. I feel like I wasn't awake. I wasn't into the album called "The Cool" by Lupe Fiasco. Mm-hmm. And more recently, Chance the Rapper is teaching us like, oh man, you don't have to follow the mold. You just need to go with what you're feeling right now.
Definitely, especially in these days.
Yeah,
anything, it's anyone's game.
He's not even a rapper in my head. He's just a straight poet. So is Lupe. So is Kanye. But like Chance's whole, personality is poetry. Because he's like 100% all around the clock role model. If he's not a role model for himself, he's being a role model for his daughter. If he's not being a role model for his daughter, he's being a role model for his city. And it's just hard. His heart and his mind is in a good place, and it comes out in his music and in his work. So.
So, how hyped were you when you heard Chance and Kanye on The Life of Pablo?
Quick story.
Okay.
I skipped class that day to listen to. I downloaded.
It'd be like that sometimes.
It'd be like that sometimes. I downloaded Tidal, and I didn't want to download Tidal, but I got the college version, and it's only $4. So I got it.
You should have hit me up, dude. I had.
Don't say that, Jones.
Sorry,
Don't say that.
I'm not gonna say anything.
All right, cool. So I'm there, and it's a live stream, so you gotta watch. I gotta watch the live stream. So I'm listening, and Ultralight Beam comes on. And I start tweeting like a maniac as soon as I heard Chance's voice,
Yes.
When they come bring you. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm crying. I really teared up. Jones. I did. I think I really did. I think it was that
why,
serious.
do you see when Kanye was tweeting about it prior to it? He's like, this is actually a gospel album. I was like, word. When I listened to it, I was like, word.
I feel like the whole thing is a
not
gospel
the whole,
album.
obviously, because then he starts talking about like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And Ray J and all that, so that.
But that is gospel, though.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
gospel.
Kirk Franklin on it too, so.
Not just that one song, but like the whole album. I think you could argue that it's gospel. Gospel struggle. He's talking about struggle.
Yeah, no, totally.
He's talking about,
But even I feel like
searching.
even the sounds too had that gospel aspect to it and whatnot. It was a great album.
I think it was a great album. Yeah, but I feel like the reason a lot of people were hyped about Chance and Kanye was just like, it was just the perfect merging of worlds,
Yeah.
Because Chance is so heavily influenced by Kanye, and you could see how Chance is like rejuvenating, Kanye in a way. Like when you watched Kanye watch Chance on the SNL performance, it was just like father or big brother looking at his.
He's like getting life from him.
Yeah, word. And like just reminding him of what it's all about.
That's what's up.
That was a great moment.
Not only that, but Kanye Kanye's been doing a lot of collaborations lately. I don't know if you heard, what was it? Figure It Out with Fresh Montana, Nas, and Kanye and stuff. But
what?
Kanye just has an ear. You have to listen to that. It's a great song. It's a great song. But Kanye just has that ear for the sounds, So hearing Chance on that album was just really good, just sonically speaking as well, because Chance has that, that certain that certain sound, that voice,
that smooth. Did you notice how like the trumpet came back? Like Chance always needs a trumpet in like his verse, and there's no trumpet on Ultralight Beam except for like Chance's verse. When he comes in, it's just like, and he's just building. Know what God said when he made the first rain go, just throw the step to enter from the lake by the intro, and like the horn is just like,
it's crazy. I'm just having fun with it. I love that.
Ooh.
Anyone who hasn't listened to The Life of Pablo yet, please go out and listen.
Check it out.
You need this in your life. Anyways, we're gonna get into some music based off of Michael's influences. Michael, who we playing right now? For Lupe, right?
Yes. This is a song that's very, very important, and it's called "The Instrumental." This is on Lupe's first album, Food and Liquor. It's about, just about being aware of what you're taking in.
But yeah,
that was the first poem I heard, and I was just like, "This is poetry. This is not poetry. That's something else." And I was just like, I feel like that was the moment when I was just like, I could do that too. I could do that too. I could express myself
Right, that was really dope. Where did you first hear of Shion? Or
No, it was just, I don't even know how I came across. Maybe it was just like through the,
It's meant to be.
I think it was back in the MySpace days. Like I saw it on
Okay.
my one of my friends' MySpace
Yeah,
pages. I was like,
TBT.
yeah, well, actually, and I was just like, all right. And then I just looked at all the other Def Poetry Jam people. I was like, this world is crazy. What is this that I've been sleeping on?
I gotta do that.
Like
I gotta get into
I
that.
have to do this. Like I started writing, and I was just like,
There we go.
I love people. So yeah,
So
I-
Michael,
yeah.
I wanted to start getting into your creative process.
Right,
more so.
right.
So tell me, what's your creative process like?
It's really sporadic.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, where sometimes I have bursts of thoughts on the bus. While I'm sitting in class, I think a lot of my poetic content comes from a teaching standpoint. So it's
Mhm.
like I learned something, so I need to figure out how am I going to say this in a poem that will dumb this down so someone else can understand it. Like what I'm gonna take what my professor says and like I'm just like, oh, that's a dope concept, and oh, college is so different from high school in the sense that in college you take your knowledge, not trying to spit bars. In college you take your knowledge and you apply it to the outside
Bars.
world, right? So I'm just like, okay, how can and I study communication, journalism, media studies,
Shout out
and
to journalism.
shout out to the School of Communication
Sky.
Information. So I get a lot of my inspiration from that, conversations with people, stuff Chantel be saying. Really, Chantel is a muse. Her one-liners show up a lot in my poems, but I won't tell y'all that. So that's not official.
That interesting.
But yeah. So and then when it comes to the actual writing, is that what you meant, or like the actual writing?
However you want to
Yeah.
take it, I guess both.
Then when it comes down to writing, I feel like it's hard to write. I get going with a concept and the rhyme scheme
Mhm.
and just like what I'm gonna say, and then I lose it. Like I'm just like, oh man. Like there's a part where I really have to stop. I'm like, all right, where am I going with this? Like, what do I really want
Yeah.
to say right now? And then I'll just leave it alone. And lo and behold, like 6 days later, I come back to it. I'm like, I know where this is gonna go right now because someone just inspired me, and I'm I got it, and then I'll be done in like 30 minutes.
Word.
Yeah. Or some poems like it's called the Everything poem, I guess, that you'll hear later. It takes like 7 days to write because
Mhm.
there's like so many elements to
It's
it.
everything.
And I gotta go, and like there's so many deleting. I don't edit my poems, and when I find myself deleting a poem, that means I really care about what I'm saying in there. So I think like there's something very necessary in saying whatever you have to say and not reworking it, unless it's being like published or something, and people need to understand exactly what you're saying. But most of my stuff, it's like,
Unedited.
yeah, unedited, off the top of the head.
Cool. I like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So, usually when you come to sit down, do you feel like, because I know some people have a routine where they'll write every day, or do you feel more so it's like you have to have something to say before you write something down? You feel me?
That's a good one. Yeah, I thought I was gonna write every day back in freshman year. I tried to do that.
That's hard, man.
Do you know National Poetry Month is in April? So like a lot of poets, they take part in like across the nation. A lot of poets take part in the write one poem a day.
Mhm.
So you have like one poem, and I was going for like 5 days,
Yeah.
and then it stopped. I was just like, oh, dang, this is hard because writing a poem really
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot out of you. Sarah Kay attempted to do the same thing, and what she said was interesting in her TED talk was like, you realize that even if you wrote a poem for 30 days, at the end of the 30 days, if you look at your whole poem, you're trying to tell one story that you're just trying to rework and figure out how you're really going to narrate this one story. And I do want to challenge myself again and see if I can do that. But I need something to write. and then I write it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll like put it on my hand real quick. I'm like, oh, here's like a bullet point. Poem about a bumblebee who wants to disengage from being queen bee. And she's a black girl at the same time. And then I'll just have that on my hand, and then I'll
just walking around.
Yeah, I'll just be walking around with that like thought in my head and just listening to people and like, okay, and then 8 o'clock comes around and I sit down and like, okay, let's do this. Ooh, here it comes. Or sometimes I really won't have anything to write, like you said.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like, oh, that line is dope. Like, sometimes like bars just come to my head. I'm just like, who taught you that you ought not to receive the gifts that God offered? And I'm just like, I don't know where this is going, but I like that intro. Like, if I heard anybody else say that, I would keep listening. So I should probably keep writing.
Yeah.
And then my pen just literally works magic. I don't know if there's like, a higher power that's like infusing me with these words. Probably so, but it's a great feeling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dope answer. I definitely agree with that, because I feel like sometimes, me personally, I feel like I'll sit down and try to write something, but then it's just whack, and it's just, you know what I mean? I just trash it.
Word.
I just throw it all out and just stop.
but you trash it. I'm a heavy user of Google Drive, so I have a folder on Google Drive that has all my poems from like the last 6 years, and whenever I need to get inspired, I go read like some unfinished poems, and that sparks a new poem, or I reapproach a poem that I thought was going somewhere and it completely goes a different way. But I like to have it here. And like I also keep like these little books. Y'all can't see it.
Is that a moleskin?
Yeah.
Yo,
It's moleskin. Is this a moleskin? I don't even. Yes, it is. Yes, definitely is. So I have 2 little moleskins. I have like one book.
Something about the feel of a moleskin is just.
I like the pocket size because I'll just like put like it in my pocket, and someone will say something on the bus. I'm like, wait, stop. 1 second, I gotta write this down.
Yeah, if I'm actually right, that actually has a folder in it.
Yeah, and
right?
I recently found that out. Like,
I found that out after having it for like 3 years.
I was like,
I like opened it. I'm like, oh, I can rip things out. And
word,
put this in here.
word. Like someone came and was like, oh, do you like the folder? I'm like, what do you mean? And then I was just like, why are you ripping my oh my God, there's a folder back here. So that's
shout
cool.
Out to Moleskine. I really
Shout
do
out to
like
Moleskine.
their notebooks. It's a good feel to it.
They're probably responsible for like 90% of the bars created every day.
Word.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
They're probably sitting there like, yep. If any of them are tuned in, they're probably
Taken.
Cool. So tell me about what do you do when you face writer's block? Because I know every writer goes through it. Do you have like a certain routine or a way to get through it?
Not a certain routine, but I'm just like, okay, if I need to write, if someone like comes at me and is like, oh, Michael, we want you to do this poem about a certain topic, I need to invest myself in that topic. I need to like watch a video about it. Like if I'm talking about climate change in the poem, I'm gonna watch a video about climate change. If I'm talking about disparity, economic disparity, or some sexist stuff or some racist stuff, I need to put myself in the zone where I find that anger and just talk about it, But I like to listen to people who rhyme very well. So I'll bust out Lauryn Hill, I'll bust out some old Kanye, I'll bust out Chance, and I'll bust out Mos Def, and like I don't even have to listen to the words as much as like the passion in people's voices about something. I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm passionate about what I do, Jones. So my bad, I keep calling you Jones.
No, it's all good.
Alright, cool. So, and then that really like gives me like this surge of courage. I think what stifles a lot of writers sometimes is the idea that their opinions aren't valid. Oh, let me write this. That's corny, that's whack, that's weak.
Yeah, I feel like it's like us being our own critics.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And it's just
tearing
like
ourselves down for it.
And just like I feel like a lot of people, we live in an age where you scroll down your Facebook feed, you see a lot of spoken word poets, and they're talking about heavy subject matter, and you know how powerful that is, because sometimes hearing a poem about a specific subject matter changes your perception about your political stance or just your social stance or something like that, right? So you understand, as a writer, you understand, like, if I'm going to eventually perform this piece, then I need to become correct because I'm influencing people, and that's dangerous in two ways. It's dangerous in the fact that if you say the wrong thing, you could be leading people astray, and it's dangerous.
Power of words.
Yeah, the power of words. But it's also dangerous in the fact that it stifles you. You're like, dag, I don't know too much about this. I just feel a lot, and I don't want to write what I don't know. But poetry is expression of soul. It's writing what you feel, and I feel like sometimes poets need to get their stats down. They need to get their facts right before they come to the poem. But like, you're not coming. If we wanted to hear a speech, we listen to Barack. We listen to the State of the Union. We listen to Bernie. But you want to feel something, listen to a poem, man. It's different. And I feel like we need to take that weight off of our shoulders when we go to write. We need to just let loose. I think my 11th grade creative writing teacher in high school was just like, you need to just do this thing where you just like write everything that's on your mind right now. Don't stop, don't rhyme, don't any type of thing. Just write words that start with the same letter, like L, love, loose, live, liver. And soon something is gonna come. Just write sentences. Just keep going and be free. So.
Yeah, I remember. I used to read a book. I think it's like The Artist's Way or something like that.
Never heard of it.
And it's a pretty good
Dope.
book. I didn't finish it, so but that's something I'm gonna go back to. But it's like it's an artist, I guess, workbook in a sense, and it kind of helps you to break through those creative barriers. And one of the things they actually said in it was, when you wake up in the morning, just write 3 pages nonstop. Just like
3 pages.
Just like stream of consciousness. Just keep going. Like,
okay.
And I guess that's like a mental thing to keep you to just keep pushing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was hard. I did it for a little bit. I didn't.
Did it help you out?
It did. Yeah. No, it did.
Right.
I don't know what I wrote in that time, but yeah, I guess.
That's
But
really
that kind
good.
of reminded me of what you were saying with, like, just write L, like just keep writing,
Right.
and that's how you kind of do it. But
Word, Jones. Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about how you get a lot of your material, I guess, from school. You would say, from your classes and whatnot.
From life too, but yeah,
From life and class.
yeah, but school, yeah, learning.
So I guess definitely we spoke about how in your pieces, I feel like you're very conscious in them, like politically, and I guess you kind of I could call you like an activist.
I'll take it.
Word.
I'll explain why I'll take it.
Activist in a sense.
And I'll explain why
Okay.
I'll take it. But keep going, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, well, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna have you expand on that. Really, like, where do you draw your inspiration from? I know, like, life and stuff, but how does that all incorporate into your art? And
yeah, what I said earlier about like me taking ideas from school, it's just like a lot of the best things that I have listened to as a child growing up. When I first heard Lupe Fiasco, he was talking about famine in other countries. He was talking about AIDS epidemic. He was talking about social issues that I couldn't tap into. But he was also talking about social issues that I could tap into. The idea of, not having a father in the home. He has this one song called He Say, She Say. And it's so simple. It's a mother talking to like a deadbeat father, who's not in the picture of her son's life. And that's the whole first verse. The second verse is the exact same as the first verse, but it's from the perspective of the son.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the exact same words, but if you listen to it, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Lupe always approached from sort of an academic mindset.
Mm-hmm.
He has this song called American Terrorist, and he just always shifted the paradigm. He always widened my perspective. He always made me force myself to think about something that wasn't obvious. he always brought out the not obvious. And someone said something to me. Poetry, when you write a poem, poetry is stylistically pointing out the obvious in everyday life. You know? So a lot of the stuff I talk about are things people generally know. Like, people, like, it's not, like, brand new to them. But the way I present it is just like, yeah, true.
Oh, word.
True. That is, I do feel that. But I've never tapped into that. I've never honed in on that. You know, when you put a microscope over the ant and it's a hot day, like, you can burn an ant, you know? But if you're just, like, you're just skimming all day long with the microscope, not the microscope, the magnifying glass, you're, you know, no one's going to get burned. I want people to burn when they hear my poems.
So, watch out.
Yeah, watch out.
Like,
Feel
it's
the burn.
coming to burn y'all. Yeah, feel the burn.
Shout out to Purple Mayhem, by the way.
So, alright, so I kind of want to get into, I guess you want to start getting into some of your pieces?
Yes, please.
Okay,
please,
so,
please.
What's the first one you want to do? Can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the story behind it, how this came about you?
Yeah, this one is an older poem. It's called Interesting Piece. I wrote this in the winter of 2013, and it was a poem I used to audition for the slam poetry team. It's about everything, and you'll understand why I say that, because it started off, because sometimes, like I said earlier, you approach a poem one way, but you end it off another way. So it started talking about police brutality, and starts talking about Trayvon Martin. But I guess my thought process was, okay, that's not the only thing that's going on, though. You know, this is only, like, this nation that we live in is very complex, and there's many layers to oppression. So I was just like, okay, what if this was just me trying to sort out the cacophony of oppression, of forces that hold us back. Maybe they're internal, maybe they're external, maybe they're imaginary, or maybe they're very real. And I'm not really answering any of my questions in the poem. I'm just letting them be out there. So this is called the next one. The poem I'm about to do is called the Everything Piece. I guess if you want to give it a title.
All right. So whenever you're ready.
I was gonna write this interesting piece about how the police don't really help, they're just distressing peeps and arresting peeps. Killing kids named Trayvon, may he rest in peace, but I bet at night his moms will never rest in peace. Then I was gonna talk about how the government doesn't invest in peeps, but they'll build a new prison so their checks increase. With the money that they take from my check each week, a method that they have so my check stays weak and the rich get rich like as we speak. And then I was gonna talk about our freedom of speech, and how we don't really have it, it's just a lie that they keep. To keep us folding while they're holding like read 'em and weep. And next week, they'll pass the same laws like we didn't speak. And then they'll blame me for not voting like, why didn't you speak? And then I'll turn around and be like, I'm not as dumb as you think. And then I'll talk about the reason state testing stinks, and how it doesn't help my knowledge, just my test instincts. And then I'll say something like, isn't it funny how we take religion out of schools, but then we put it in money? I'll say that says a lot about what we put our faith in. Money is God, so why don't we go and praise him? Or maybe it's the family that needs some reconfiguration, because the family is the base, it's the core, it's the rock. It's been debased, defiled, divorced, mocked. Then I'll say it's the fathers for hitting their sons. Then I'll say it's the Second Amendment for giving us guns. Then I'll say it's the women for losing their pride, their self-esteem dimming and thrown to the side. Then I'll say it's the brothers for hitting the sisters. Then I'll say it's the boys that turn into misters. Then I'll say it's the nuns, it's the troops, it's the war. Then I'll say it's the liquor and drinking at bars. Then I'll say it's the food, it's the drugs, it's the watches. Then I'll say it's the British, the Polish, the Danish, the blacks, the whites, the rich and the famous. I'll say it's the poverty that looms over the city. I'll say it's probably Pac, Diddy, Fiddy, and Biggie. It's probably bigger than most of us can consider. I'll say it's the summer, but it's probably the winter. It's partly the hunger, and it's also the dinner. It's partly the saint, and it's also the sinner. It's probably them, but it's probably you. But now that I think about it, it's probably me too. Thank you.
Woo! That that was dope. So I know I just heard that. I've heard that before, but then I just heard it again. It's like
Thank
one
you.
of those poems that can hit you in so many different ways,
Thank you
because
so
you
much.
just pick up on new things, and then just saying what you said before, it's like, I know, it really hit me. It is everything.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of how just when we point out one problem, then next thing you know, like, there's another problem and another problem, and just kind of how
Word.
everything's connected. You feel
Mhm.
me? So it's just,
You can't look at things in a vacuum.
yeah,
Hmm.
totally.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was dope. Kudos to you with that one. That was definitely a strong piece. So for those of you who are not familiar with Michael, know that he came to burn y'all. So
Definitely.
So you want to do another piece?
Yeah, I think this next piece is definitely in theme with the burning. It does not have a title because actually it does. I did give it a title. It's called Something. I wrote this yesterday, and this is more a personal piece, less pedagogical. Don't really want to teach anything with this one. This is more one of those poems that you write for yourself, but it does teach. So I guess that's. Let me just read this.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Blacks cannot afford to be anything less than perfect. Let me tell you something. Beyonce must sing with a voice that evokes angels and silences thunder, while seamlessly executing demanding choreography flawlessly. To earn the same award, Taylor grabs swiftly, with average vocals purposely poised, twerking and forgettable videography. Nicholas Frazier had us crying and dying, asking one question: why you always lying? Peaches Monroe revolutionized rhetoric, transformed the internet when her eyebrows were on fleek. Meanwhile, white Dan Daniel never utters a word, receives a life supply of shoes, an appearance on Ellen, and a scholarship in less than 1 week. What's crazy is Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, and Jay-Z are the only 4 black men in their $1 million neighborhood. They must reach heights unmeasured, be the conquerors of their genres, comedic geniuses, and lyrically inventive, just for Chris Rock's white neighbor to be a run-of-the-mill dentist. See, black kids grow up hearing they have to work twice as hard to go half as far. We can't just meet the standard, we have to raise the bar. We laugh, but not too loud. Prideful, but not too proud. Constructively critique, but don't come off condescending, because our slip-ups, human error, the wages of black sin, have different consequences, dire and deadly endings. That's why I felt my stomach drop when I made my first small but big mistake. I knew that this black skin could lead to a different fate. I knew my small step out of the line could be perceived as more evil than white frat boys committing rape, or white boys going to Charleston churches and letting guns ring. My skin meant a different thing. It meant no sudden movements and no trips to Burger King. Life that much more threatened. Me that much more guilty. I knew my actions would speak louder than my words, and my skin louder than my actions times 50. I was lucky. My story had a happy end. Light, nice, and white, and I dressed like someone who wouldn't do this thing again. And I am. But in that moment, I knew my circumstances were different. If I had a different stance, sag my pants, and my chance would be different. When I told my friends, I saw the fear in their eyes they couldn't hold back. They said, "It's not that you did it, it's the fact that you're black." This told me that they knew that there was something to that. Presumptions and assumptions to that. Something that still marked me guilty, even if I had had better judgment than that. Something beyond me that superseded my individual act. Something that targets racists. Something that allows 1 in 9 whites while 1 in 13 males who are black remain incarcerated. Something that justifies the black identity as criminal. Something that's normalized on Channel 5 and all their visuals. Something that represents me as a slave, and when I play the role well, still don't get on the Oscar stage. Something that told me that I should change, perceive with a wider context, before I judge victims of the criminal industrial complex. If I can make one mistake and still be a decent person, then something about punishing before we correct isn't working. Especially in a society where the criminal archetype is the darker type, where your pigment lands you in pig pens, but America will tell you that it's racially indifferent. This is a fallacy I hope you don't indulge in. There's a potion in the cauldron to distract you, make you feel it won't impact you, in hopes that you won't discover the truest culprits. Thank you.
Bars.
Thank you.
Bars.
Thank you, Chance.
You said you just wrote that yesterday?
I just wrote that yesterday, yes.
So for anyone mayhem listening, I believe that was a first.
That was a first. Bow, bow, bow. Yo, next mayhem, we got some surprises for you guys. Yeah, we got some stuff that y'all ain't ready for. I might share those surprises with you after this interview. Can't let it be known to the public, but y'all should definitely come out, Verbal Mayhem family. And non-verbal mayhem family, which is still family, because as soon as you come, you're family, so come through.
Oh, well, so I wanted to ask, in closing, I wanted to ask a couple questions to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be your dream collaboration?
Before I stepped in here, I was gonna say like Chance, the rapper,
Mm-hmm.
and Mos Def, and Consequence, and me. You know, like all
Mm-hmm.
on the same track, and like Erykah Badu vocals,
Ooh.
and Lauryn Hill comes in to do end of the poem type deal. But on a local level, but still a global level, you were talking about Verbal having like, you know, like this mixtape or whatever, and I was just thinking like, yo, we have a fire group of people at Verbal Mayhem, so I would definitely need Lean Mean Christine opening up on a track for me. Then I would come in, then I would pass it off to Steve, aka Slay the King. Then I would pass it, and Slay the King would pass it to Internal Rhymes. It's the same song,
Yeah.
all right? Then I would let Internal Rhymes pass it to Raheem. Raheem, you know who you are. Shout out to Raheem Hicks. And then I would bring it back to me real quick. But if I could list like all the people at Verbal, yeah, we would have to do a mixtape, man, because there's not enough room on one song unless we're gonna make it one of those super crazy long Kanye songs. But those 9-minute, 12-minute joints. But yeah, that would be my super cloud team, and God, like that's just like coming in the middle of the song,
Featuring God.
featuring God, you know. But
That'd be dope.
God is in all of us, so it's
Yeah,
always featuring
so
God, right?
True.
And then I would have Chantel do her poetry. Yeah,
Hey.
y'all don't know about that. It's coming though. It's coming, right,
Okay.
Chantel? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's coming. So I'm excited for that. Definitely want to hear that. So everybody better tune in.